Hello, Lou Hamilton from Audible Elegance here in Cincinnati, Ohio. We have a website, audibleelegance.com, which is very alive and breathing. We have manufacturer specials on it, an orphanage for used gear. Some of it featured right now to help out Bradley, one of our employees, who's quite ill and is going to have a difficult life. Who is Lou Hamilton and what is Audible Elegance? Is what I'm going to address tonight. Um, and I'm going to ramble a little bit, so for those who don't like rambling, please tune out. For those who want to learn a little bit about the industry, well, that's what you're going to get. The audio industry is a curious animal, and one of the curiosities that are in it are people who love to spread rumors and to promote themselves as being a person to go to learn about hi-fi. Some of them are all occasionally known as audiophiles. And one of the things that these people can do is spread rumors like none other. And my first introduction to this was in the 90s as my shop was growing. And as some people can tell, I'm pretty notorious for not putting up with bullshit. And I try to tell things in a straightforward manner, fairly simple. And I go at manufacturers the same way. I consider my customers the most important person that I deal with. My manufacturer suppliers make that possible. So over the years, I developed quite a reputation with manufacturers to essentially avoid me. The reason being is that if I caught them not supporting their products properly, or essentially trying to float nonsense out there, I wouldn't hesitate to call them out on it. And where the rumor mongers come in on this is that it got to the point where if I said something to somebody, a dealer or anything else in New York, by the time business opened in California, I would get the calls asking me, did I really say that? And this is before the age of computers and the internet. And that's how fast rumors and stories can travel in our industry. As I say, some of these people are worse than little old ladies over the backyard fence. And they really make things a bit confusing because while they may be sharing accurate information, they're also notorious for sharing inaccurate information. And some of it can be fairly damning to not only dealers, but to manufacturers. I've seen some very fine companies destroyed by it because they didn't know how to deal with it. The companies most subject to being destroyed by it are companies that are principally created by engineers and marketed by engineers because they don't know how to deal with this social media angle of it. And it is very strong. And even to this day, there are some manufacturers that would prefer not talking to me or hearing about me because I will be fairly direct in my questions or positions. And I've had to take a number of manufacturers to task. Now, one manufacturer recognized this. And years ago, we represented Mark Levinson and Proceed. And they had an annual banquet where they'd have all the Levinson dealers together. And the first year, they gave an award out to Simon Zerknney of Audio Consultants in Chicago. It was a 4 or 5 store operation. Simon was an amazing person to talk to. And I'll digress into a story about Simon. But Simon was known for holding manufacturers to the standard that they claimed they represented. And that's key. And so they gave an award to Simon the first year of the banquet. The second year, I was in attendance, and of all things, Levinson, the Proceed Group, uh, Madrigal was the organization, gave me the Simon Zerknney Award because I had called them out on a number of manufacturing issues that should not have happened. And they were safety issues. Now, they were appreciative of it, but nobody else went at them about it. And it was because I cared about Levinson and I cared about Proceed and I cared about their reputation that I wasn't going to let them screw up. And so they recognized the benefit it could be. But there's a lot of other manufacturers who don't like to have their feet held to the fire with truth. And there's more of those than not. So if I don't have certain manufacturers here, probably because they don't want to put up with me, because I'm not going to let them cakewalk on bullshit. There's certain manufacturers I won't deal with because they cakewalked on some of my customers. And after I gave them hell, I threw them out of the store. And so that's what we do. I want to digress for a second about Simon Zerknney. He was brilliant. In my early days, there was this automated system that was built by the French. It was called Frox, F-R-O-X. And it was the end-all and be-all of automation. This was early 90s. And Frox was a company that was glorified when it first appeared, as any new piece of candy typically is. But pretty quickly they started to, getting into financial trouble. Well, I had a customer who absolutely demanded that I sell him a Frox system, and these things weren't cheap. So in '92, these systems were $10,000 to $15,000. And I tried to convince this guy that this really was not a good idea, particularly long term, and he'd have none of it. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to call Simon. I want you to talk to Simon because Simon represents him too. So we called Simon Zerknney, and Simon was talking. We had him on speakerphone, and Simon goes, I'll sell you a Frox system, but you only have to do one thing. And the customer asked, well, what's that? He goes, well, you have to sign a document that you won't sue me when they go out of business. That was the end of it, right then and there. Simon was a master of showing people the truth and the light, and sometimes in a very unkind way. But Simon was a great person, without question. And so there are people like that in our industry who are truly leaders at the dealership level. But there's very few of us that will really go after a manufacturer for nonsense. And that's just the way it is. So for the few of us who do go out of our way to, give them hell, so to speak, well, there's retribution involved, and we have to accept it. But I'm not going to compromise my desire to serve my customer for the carelessness or financial advantage that a manufacturer may try to take. And that's the end of it. So I don't have the finest reputation in the industry by any stretch of the imagination, but I am dedicated to my customers, and if that's the price I've had to pay, I'll pay it again.